I'm Sienna. I'm the kid.
I'm Sarah. I'm the mom.
This is Queer Kid Straight Mom.
Let's talk. Welcome back to Queer Kid Straight Mom. Our plan for this episode, as we told you last time, was to talk about Leviticus and Girls Kiss Girls. But what we did not consider is that we can't watch those movies yet here in our town in Montana.
Yet? Are they ever coming?
I mean, if one of the film festival things decides to show it at the indie theater, then maybe. So we have to put that off, unfortunately.
I just need everyone to take a moment to acknowledge how insane that is, because it's not like those are unheard of indie movies that no one is watching. Plenty of people are watching them. Everything I've seen about Leviticus it has been interesting so far. It's not like these are no-name movies that no one wants to go see. I was planning on going and seeing Leviticus with a friend from work, and she was completely blown away when I told her they weren't showing here.
It's a problem. So hopefully we will be able to do that in the future, but we apologize that we can't do it yet. At some point, we can maybe stream them, and then we'll have this conversation. So instead, what we're talking about might not be as highbrow from a entertainment quality point of view. Well, entertainment is very entertaining from an objective quality point of view, is Love Island, which some of you may be watching. If you're not, I can't say it's good, so watch it, but it is entertaining. And we've actually had this conversation that if this weren't a psychology experiment, this would be so unethical. But here we are.
But it's okay because they go into it knowing exactly what to expect.
They know what
no one has been lied to here.
Right. And it's the 8th season.
Yeah.
So they're
8th season of Love Island USA.
So they know what they're doing.
And also, if your workplace is anything like mine, and my workplace is filled with lawyers, everyone you work with is watching it.
Yeah. So if you want to take part in the conversation, I guess watch it. We are not, full disclaimer, completely caught up because we're a little behind.
Because who has time for this? This is a second job watching this.
It kind of is.
How is it? I mean, frankly, it's impressive that they can put out an episode every night. That's dedication from the editing crew. But how is anyone keeping up with an hour, more than an hour sometimes, hour and a half sometimes, long episode every single night? Who has time for this? This is ridiculous.
Right. Especially, if this is a personal issue, but the World Cup is also going on.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of various sports finales just ended. Baseball season, I feel is starting to actually pick up.
Wimbledon.
World Cup is going on. And also you're keeping up to date on what?
It's a lot. So we're not totally caught up. But the reason we're talking about it on this particular podcast is we have said so many times, and so many people have said so many times, real people can't queer bait. But what is going on with Zach and Bryce? That's what we want to talk about. Because it has been an amusing topic. And oh, wow, they seem more into each other than they're a couple. Or they have great chemistry. Or why are they always snuggling in bed? And it does seem like they're playing into it. Because it seems oh, this is a storyline that might be getting some traction. And so, I mean, I assume that most of the people that go on the show do not expect that they're going to find true love, but to some degree are trying to become famous. So you want your storyline to become a storyline, right? Is this what they're doing?
Well, I suppose what we need to do is take the phrase real people cannot queer bait, and I don't know exactly what the word I'm looking for is, because in fairness, it's always been real people queer baiting, right? It's just that it's been the authors and editors and creators behind stories.
Right.
And so maybe it's helpful to look at this is, they're real people on Love Island, but it's this weird liminal space. I feel like reality television between reality and fiction, where you're seeing this very, very curated version of people's lives and a very highly edited version of people's lives, and they do not have control over the narrative that is being told about them.
That's true.
And I think that's what's really important to keep in mind, is that I mean, who knows what is really going on with Zach and Bryce? Like, maybe they're both into each other. Maybe one of them is into the other and the other one isn't. Maybe they just are really close friends and they're very into the girls they're with. But we don't know because it's a reality TV. And it's this story that is being edited and clipped and pruned and curated for the consumption of an entire country in a way that is detached from reality, but almost more like sinister makes it sound really dramatic, but very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sneaky, like insidious is what I was about to say. And I was like, is that too dramatic? But in an insidious way because it's designed to make us not be able to tell the difference.
So you're suggesting it's not so much a decision they have made about how they are presenting their relationship as a decision that the producers have made.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone had said, oh, really play up this bromance angle. That would not surprise me at all. But I do think that a lot of what I see as feeding into this narrative, and I am trying to be careful about how I talk about it because I don't really necessarily want to be commenting on if I think there is a relationship there or not for all the reasons I just said.
Right.
And also because, like, despite the fact that these are people who have basically sold their souls to achieve fame, like you said, and go on reality TV, I do want to afford them a little bit of privacy if it's not something that they have spoken on publicly before. That, you know, having your sexual orientation picked apart under a microscope is not necessarily what most people expect they're signing up for when they go on a very, very, very heterosexual reality dating show.
Right.
But when I see the things that I think are feeding into this narrative that has popped up, I see them less as things that they are doing. I think most of what they are doing very much could go either way. Could be in the realm of romantic, could be in the realm of very close platonic relationship. Where I see most of the stuff that's feeding into it is the way that the editors are choosing to put together this story. That every time we see something happen with Zach and Kata, we have to cut to Bryce to get a reaction. Every time we talk about how weirdly long Zach's tongue is, we have to cut to Bryce to get a reaction. That it is, again, this very carefully curated story, which is true of all these stories, by the way, that anytime you like one of the couples, anytime you think some character is a jerk or some character is so great, it probably actually has less to do with them as a person and more to do with the story that the editors are trying to show you.
Yeah. So maybe some of these things, because, like, when I texted you the other night and I was laughing, I was like, what was that girth check situation? Like, it was very weird. Like, Bryce walks up to Zach and, like, pulls his shorts out and is, like, asking Zach to look. I don't know. Like, there have been a couple of things like that, like, so Dad hasn't been, like, watching with me, but he'll come in and out, and sometimes he gets, like, sort of sucked in, and he sits down and he's watching. And, like, that kind of thing, I'm like, is that normal? And he's like, no, that's not. So from a guy perspective, like, what are they doing? But maybe there was a conversation. Maybe there was a conversation they had. Like, my friends and I will be like, you know, oh, this perimenopause symptom. Like, what is happening with you? What is your body doing? What is this? So maybe there was a conversation that these guys had that was very like, okay, does this ever happen? Like, I just want to know if this is normal for you. And maybe they had this conversation that was not on the show. And that was in context of that, but we don't know that. So it just looks like he's being like, hey, look.
It's like in White Lotus when the dad keeps like asking everyone if his balls look weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks weird on the surface, but there are all sorts of things that friends do that look incredibly bizarre without context. We do not have context.
Yeah. So maybe, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe there was a conversation that we never got to see. And so it looks like they're being very weird, but like, well, if you knew that earlier they had like had this conversation, then it would be a totally normal thing to do. I mean, maybe not normal, but like in that way that friends, especially, I mean, people get close like weirdly quickly on this show, right? Because it's like the retreats, they like religious retreats, they would like have us go on in high school at my Catholic school. Like, you don't get any sleep. You're in close quarters for a really long amount of time together.
No social media.
You're asked really personal questions. People tell sad stories about their life. Everyone cries. Like, you develop these like really abnormally intense emotions and feel like weirdly bonded in a very short amount of time. And I have to think that like that is going on in this situation.
Mhm.
So, I mean, maybe these two guys could have the kind of friendship that you've had when you've known each other for a really long time and you totally are like, does my butt look weird in this? Maybe. But they chose to like just be like, ooh, let's use that because
Right.
that's gonna contribute to this narrative that they're like weirdly into each other's bodies or something. Yeah, I don't know. It because I do like I said, not gonna speculate on that. Like, I actually really like Bryce and Trinity together, and I hope like I said, I'm not totally caught up, so I hope they're still together when this airs, but I don't like I don't feel like there's, like, a really obvious physical, like, attraction between them.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, like Santa said, don't wanna speculate on anything, but, like, it is possible that we're seeing people in their early mid-20s, like, learning things about their sexuality too. That, like you said, they didn't sign up for. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because when I was watching, relatively early on, I texted before I had seen any of the stuff on social media, I texted mom and I was like, "Why do these 2 guys have more chemistry with each other than, like, any," and this was also especially before any of the relationships had gotten particularly deep or meaningful, insofar as any of the relationships have gotten deep or meaningful, and, yeah, I was like, "Why do these guys have more chemistry than any of, like, the, straight couples on here?" And then I, like, started looking on social media, and it turned out that everyone else was picking up on that.
Yeah.
But again, it's this thing of, like, what we have touched on in other conversations about queer baiting is this tendency among straight people who are not picking up on it, who want to defend the straightness or whatever it is, saying, "No, why does everything have to be made gay? Like, it's just 2 guys who are friends." And effectively, like, this aspect of gaslighting the queer people who are looking at this and saying, "Well, this is what I'm seeing," because it's deliberate choices, right? Every story, everyone who creates a story and puts it out for consumption is drawing on, like, this very long history of cues that are given to people when they consume media. And those cues, subconsciously or consciously, are setting people up to interpret the story in the way you want it to be interpreted. In fact, like, if something comes out of absolutely out of the blue, you have no idea, never would have seen it coming, no one in the audience saw it coming, kind of twist, that's actually usually a sign it's not very good writing.
Mm, yeah.
Because, like, I've heard some writers describe it as you kinda want, like, a third of people to be completely taken by surprise, you want a third of people to look at it and be like, "Oh, no, that makes sense looking back," and then a third of people to have it completely figured out before it happens. You
Okay.
wanna have a mix,
That's interesting.
because no story is being created in a vacuum. There are all of these artistic.
Well, that's why you use literary techniques like
Right.
foreshadowing and all of that stuff, right? You wanna have people feeling like something's gonna happen and trying to figure out what it
Mhm.
is.
And once you get into, visual media like television and movies, you have this whole new sound, like a toolbox to work with, basically, right? You have lighting and
Music.
sound, music, different kinds of, like, camera frames, all of these techniques that can be used to really, really good effect to, like, you know, you don't necessarily notice something, but maybe you go back and you're like, "Oh, you can see from the way that they're, like, editing this guy that he was gonna be the villain all along," or whatever,
Yeah.
right? All of this to say that any creator worth their salt knows about all of those things and is thinking about all of those things when they put something together for release on television.
Yeah.
And so to tell people who are picking up on those things in a piece of media that, no, you're just pushing an agenda, you're just making it up, you're delusional, is disrespectful and it's wrong.
It's an interesting take. So, what do you think as a queer person of that whole thing that, like every time something like this happens and then people are like, well, this is why guys don't want to express emotions or have close friendships because then people speculate that they're gay.
Mm-hmm.
What's your reaction to that?
It's a thing where people will say that the same way they might say, if we were to represent a butch lesbian on TV or a sporty lesbian on TV, then that would be leaning into stereotypes and saying that, butch women and sporty women have to be lesbians, or this is the only way for a lesbian to act. But they aren't on TV though. That's not a story that gets told as much as you're acting like it does. Like, in my opinion, there are plenty of close relationships between men that get portrayed in popular media. And of course, some people are gonna like see the romantic potential there the same way that they see romantic potential between platonic relationships between men and women. And if you're a woman who's friends with a guy and everyone keeps pushing you together, I imagine it's definitely frustrating to see people constantly only seeing the potential for romantic relationships between men and women. But obviously, that doesn't mean that romantic relationships between men and women don't exist.
Right.
It's just that for some reason, when people see that potential there between two men, people get, I say for some reason, we know why people get offended by that.
Right. The implication is that you're accusing them of something bad,
Right.
undesirable, or whatever, weird.
Or that you feel like there's something bad, that you have to like defend these innocent straight people from being, impugned. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's an interesting one where, I mean, anytime you put your, I guess, romantic, but in a very performative sense, romantic life on TV, like, you're kind of saying people are going to speculate in whatever way they're going to speculate about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to make all sorts of assumptions, like, that have nothing to do with your sexuality, but like, oh, well, that guy is completely untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that person is this. So, like, ultimately it is that, but it is kind of an interesting thing to think about how weird it would be if you were, and I'm not saying that these people are, because as we talked about, like, there have been a lot of choices by the production team to kind of play that up or make it look like that. But it does make you kind of think about, like, what would that be like if you didn't even really realize, because you could be in your very early 20s and, like, really have not ever let yourself acknowledge questions you had about your sexuality until you were in a situation. Like, what if you ended up at Love Island thinking you were a straight man or a straight woman, and you fall in love with somebody of the same sex as you, and that would be a really weird thing to navigate.
Yeah, there are many books to this effect. And it's I don't know, it's tough because obviously the entire premise of the show is taking these really intimate aspects of people's lives and, commodifying them into like consumable entertainment. And again, like walking this really thin line between reality and fiction. And yet I just imagine that you are in that situation. Maybe you're realizing you were queer. Maybe you were queer, but you're not out, and you are experiencing romantic feelings for someone on the show who is not someone you're supposed to be experiencing romantic like, who's not the point of the show, right? And to be experiencing the difficulty of that, and also have it being not just broadcast to the entire world on live television, but also like being edited, being played up, maybe being exaggerated in completely inaccurate ways. It's, I don't know, maybe it just feels more personal to me because I'm queer, but it just really bothers me.
And being subjected to what everybody out there feels about, like, everybody's 2 cents about your sexuality as well. Like, which, I mean, I guess we see, with a lot of like famous people, if they do come out, or, when people speculate, that like, it'd be really hard to like know what everybody thinks about that. It would be fascinating to have queer people on that show and see how that played out, though. Openly queer people on that show.
The entire show should be nothing but bisexual and pansexual people who are all allowed to be in relationships with each other, because imagine how much more chaotic that would be. That would be amazing.
That would make for good entertainment, which, is the point. And it is entertaining, even though it's not good. And as a psychology person, like, I just find it really super fascinating. And this isn't specific to that issue, but there are so many things that play out in a way that you realize these things about human psychology, right? That like the first bombshell comes in and you're like, oh, I don't like her. But then like the longer she's there, then you're like, well, now I don't like the new ones, right? Like you come to accept people more the longer they're there. Which, I mean, obviously they play up very much to like, this is what makes it exciting is like, now this is the villain or these people are the villains or whatever. But there is so much in our psychology that makes that you really see some of those. I promise I'm not just trying to pretend this show is deep because it is not. But it is fascinating to watch those sort of like tribalistic aspects of ourselves play out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think and there's been, loads and loads of commentary done on this, so we don't need to, like, beat a dead horse, but I think it does really reveal a lot of interesting stuff about the way that race plays out in group dynamics and in relationships, and the way gender plays out in group and relationship dynamics. To the point about queer people, like, the girls are just kissing each other all over the place, but it's treated as something that is put on for the guys' entertainment
Yeah.
because
No one's like, are they gay?
right, no one takes it seriously. I mean, can you imagine, right, the reaction to any pair of guys kissing, like, what a big deal that would be, and how immediately it would be a matter of, "Oh, they must not actually be into the girls that they're partnered with. They're actually into each other, and it's this whole big explosion and blah, 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 blah." Whereas girls just casually are kissing each other for guys to, like, watch and think it's hot.
Right. Which, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about this lately with maybe gender equality, and we're catching up a little bit with women treating men that way, gay men. Like, oh, this is so hot to watch. But
Mhm.
for so, so long, yeah, it's like, well, girls just kiss each other because they know guys are going to get excited about it.
But even a difference there, though, if you think about it, is that these, to the best of our knowledge, straight girls are kissing each other. I mean, lots of guys have no problem asking their female partner to kiss another girl or to have sex with another girl, to have a threesome, like whatever, even if they know she's straight and has no interest in women, because it is this thing that's like, it's so hot for me.
Yeah.
And I've I'm sure someone out there has done it, but that is not a thing with straight women and their straight male partners.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of gender stuff, really. I mean, very obvious gender stuff on this show, but like a lot of those dynamics that like it really struck me when the guys are at Casa Amor and they had just like done that challenge, like competing against their partner at the villa, and the villa won. And a couple of those guys were like, I feel like those guys over at the villa, like they're getting what we were supposed to be getting.
Mhm.
Like the gender entitlement thing is really kind of fascinating to watch play out.
Yeah, just ugh,
Like what they do is for us.
literally. There is so much of that attitude, I feel like, throughout the entire show, which I think I don't know that you can really say it's a commentary on, like, the show necessarily. I think the show plays into it in some ways, but I think it's more a commentary on just, like, society and the way
Yeah.
society treats women.
Yeah. And if you're watching it and you're like, what is wrong with these guys? Like, well, take a deeper look at that because that is a society thing. So interesting. Love to hear your thoughts. And like I said, like I don't necessarily want to recommend you watch it if you haven't, but if any of this sounds fascinating to you, it is certainly entertaining.
I like to describe it as, like, anthropological study of straight people. Also, it makes me feel, like, so normal and well-adjusted.
That's true. I have said that a couple of times. Like, if I ever thought I had done something embarrassing in my life, this show makes me feel like I have not ever really done anything that embarrassing because, wow. So, if you just need like a self esteem boost, there's also that. Something I would like to talk about next time is a comment I saw on social media where somebody was very upset because their trans daughter, who was 13, I think, had been told by a therapist that they had to be upfront with anybody they dated and tell the guy that they were dating that they were trans immediately because that's only fair to him. And it set off an entire conversation that I am just really interested in discussing. What advice do you give your teenage kids as they start dating and they're trans and it seems to get very deeply into who owes what to who. And there are safety issues and there are privacy issues, and it's just very, very complex. So we're going to chat about that next time. If you have any thoughts, let us know ahead of time, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
If you found this episode interesting, informative, amusing, please review and follow us on your podcasting platform of choice. Getting those reviews and follows really helps us show up more in the algorithm and be able to reach more people to help them. You can find us on social media, Instagram, and Threads at queerkid.straightmom, Blue Sky at qksm.bsky.social, and Facebook at Queer Kid Straight Mom. We are no longer on Twitter.